let me turn the reins over to Rich for a second, and let's talk a little bit about what's been going on at Harlem RBI.
Thanks, Jim. This is great to listen to for me personally. Reminds us of a lot of the reasons we've gotten into this. Harlem RBI is a 21-year-old nonprofit that has spent virtually all of its existence in a single community, and really sort of over the last 10 years growing significantly, but growing organically to meet the needs of its youth population. But over the last 2 or 3 years, a couple of important things have happened that relate to the talent issue. The first is the rate of growth for our core program has started to speed up, so that we've essentially gone from an organization with, say, 20 full-time service providers to 50 in the last couple of years. Additionally, we opened a charter school, which is literally like doubled the size of the organization in a 3 to 4 year period as well. That school started with just 2 grades, but it adds a single grade every year. And on top of that, about a year ago, we completed the organization's most recent strategic plan, which called for the first time for scaling into new communities, both in New York and nationally. And if we accomplish what we aim to over the next 5 years or so, we're looking at going from an organization of about 100 full-time employees to one that might have as many as 250 to 300. That's pretty ambitious, high-growth stuff. And to us, all of it is going to be on the back of having the right people to drive it. And I think our surety about that, or belief in that, and therefore our willingness to invest in human capital management, really comes from the challenges we've had scaling just in a single community, i.e. going over a 4-year period from 25 employees to a 5-year period from 25 to 100 employees, and having real challenges along the way. And the examples of that go up and down the organization, from a 2-year period where we had what we were calling the CFO of the Month Club, where we had three chief financial officers in about a 30 to 36-month period, to real challenges with middle managers as the organization was growing, and doing a lot of promoting line staff to middle management jobs on the basis of being very strong service providers, but with no history or necessarily evidence that they would be great managers. And additionally, just sort of a weakness in terms of the processes of bringing people into the organization, so that some key roles, or some roles that were less than key, would stay open for a month, 2 months, 3 months, longer than that. I remember years ago we would have these social work jobs which we wanted to fill, and they're complicated jobs to fill, but they would typically they would be open for 6 months. So if you think about the impact of that programmatically, it's pretty daunting stuff. So it was very clear to us that we didn't know enough about finding the right people, and we had to get better at it. The most significant thing we did, and we didn't actually see this coming out of our strategic plan, was that we had originally in our strategic plan envisioned that, okay, we're going to make a big investment in human resources. But the deeper we got into this, and quite frankly, this happened mostly when we met AchieveMission, was that we decided to split human resources and human capital management, or what we call talent development, into 2 different departments. HR became a very important but largely administrative function in the organization. Essentially, sort of stage 1 was covered by HR. And everything on up, getting to stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, in the terms of the context of the webinar today, was the job of talent management, which is really a strategic level function in the organization. The Director of Talent Development reports directly to me, and works side by side with the Chief Operating Officer. and is really seen as key a function as any other that we perform in the organization. The other piece I want to speak to is where before, HR was something that the HR department did, even though that there is now a human capital management function formalized at Harlem RBI. It is really the expectation that this is everyone in the organization's work. Everyone is a recruiter, and everyone helps to onboard. It is everybody's job to figure out how to make people better at what they do, how to call people out doing their job as well. This isn't just something that is segregated in a corner of the organization, but has to live across everybody who works at Harlem RBI. And that's a very new way of thinking about our work, but I think one that we've already seen some big payoffs. And to the point of where and how we've invested, you've seen a lot of these titles in the previous slides, but there's been heavy-duty work on building competencies, both leadership and core competencies for staff, much better hiring practices, aligned and cascaded goals for all employees, focused on a box score and a 9-box, which is something I spent 4 hours doing yesterday with my leadership team, which was essentially putting every staff member in the organization on an axis of high performing and high potential, and starting to work on figuring out what their personal development plans needed to be. To diversity, to thinking about organizational structure, not just 3 months from now, but 3 years and 5 years from now too. It's been a huge amount of work and a huge investment, but one that we're really, really excited about. And while I think we're kind of in the nascent stages of figuring out the ROI of this, I think I'll have much more to say about what at least the ROI that I can put on slides that look as good as the one James is sharing is what I can tell you is that we've hired 27 people in the last 4 months. Some of those are new employees, new roles. Some of them are replacing people that we've been able to move out of the organization who we've seen as low performers. And some were filling roles that just weren't getting closed because we didn't have people in place to do the work. On a day-to-day basis, employees talk about much greater clarity of their work and their goals, not simply for themselves, but the clarity as relates to our organization's overall mission. So you don't see anybody kicking a soccer ball on the baseball field, so to speak. People understand what they're supposed to be doing every day, and their managers understand how to coach them and manage them towards those goals. And, longer term, we'll start looking at, and we are looking at, the types of things that James was just talking about. What are the vacancy rates looking like? How long do we retain people? What is staff satisfaction looking like within the organization, which we think matters a lot. And the last one I'll point to, which we're spending a lot of time thinking about, is one that did make it on a previous slide, is this idea of A players and A roles. We think some roles, all roles are important in the organization, some are more important than others. We've worked hard at identifying the ones we think are A roles, and we've worked hard at making sure that we have A players in each of those A roles. And if we don't, we've got to have a plan to get someone who's a B to an A, or we've got to have a plan to replace someone who's a B with an A, or it's really going to hold our work back and ultimately hinder us in how we get our work done and how we get our mission done.